All right, Senator Rand Paul joins us for this segment. I got to tell you, I've been really proud of the work he's been doing, trying to get a copy of Obamacare last week when the Republicans had it in secret, exposing this whole Russia thing as a bunch of red herrings. He's been exposing the whole NSA spy grid, obviously, before he was even in the Senate. And so I think we've got the senator on the line with us. Senator, are you there?
I am, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you here. Wow, so much going on. Where should we start, with Obamacare?
Yeah, I mean, it really disturbs me that for 6 years we've been running to repeal Obamacare. The American public elected the House Majority Republican in 2010, the Republican Senate 2014, and then the White House in 2016. They elected us to repeal it, and now what the House leadership is putting forward is simply Obamacare light.
Now, I saw, obviously, quotes of you this morning on Fox, and I agreed with it. I'd like to have something, really good, so perhaps you can propose that. I know you have had some proposals, but overall, just to be able to get rid of the forced mandate, the $5,000 fines, that would be a good thing. But let's walk through this.
Well, what we can do is, about a year ago, we tried to get rid of as much of it as we could. So we had a vote a little bit over a year ago, and every Republican in the House and every Republican in the Senate, except for one, voted to repeal the whole thing. And I think that's where we ought to start, is there. Instead, people are saying, oh, we should replace it with some government programs. We should replace it with Obamacare light. And there's agreement on repeal, but we're really just not agreed on the replacement. I have a free market replacement bill, which sort of gives people more choices, but the House leadership has put forward Obamacare subsidies, and they call them refundable tax credits. They've put forward Obamacare taxes. In fact, for the next year, they leave all of the Obamacare taxes in place.
Wow.
And they leave the Cadillac tax, the tax on really good insurance, stays in place forever. And here's the other interesting thing, and not many people know this. There is an individual mandate in their bill. You don't pay the mandate to the government. You don't have to pay a tax if you don't buy insurance, but you pay a penalty to the insurance company. The insurance companies have their fingers into this bill, and the insurance companies also have bailouts built into them. If someone's insurance becomes expensive, if someone gets really sick, instead of the insurance company taking the risk, they're pawning the risk off on the taxpayer. So I think there are enough votes, enough conservatives in the House Freedom Caucus, and enough conservatives in the Senate to stop this thing. And then our hope is that we'll vote on a clean repeal. Let's just repeal Obamacare and forget trying to start new government programs.
Well, this is obviously Trump central with our audience, and I love a lot of what Trump's doing, trying to cut taxes and get jobs back. But I was watching you this morning, what you said. I went and Googled it. And sure enough, there it was, that there's a mandate to the insurance company, a private corporate tax. I get it's better than Obamacare, but you're right. If you have the votes to just get rid of the damn thing, let's get rid of it. We know it was the Republican establishment helped write it with Mitt Romney a decade ago when he was governor of Massachusetts. So, Senator Paul, again, I want to just commend you as the only major Republican I've seen so far to come out and point out that this is not as good a deal as the Republican leadership saying. And Trump saying, hey, a good start. I like it. It's a good negotiation point. So maybe he doesn't know how bad it is. Maybe he needs to hear from the listeners and you.
Well, I talked to him yesterday. He called me up, and we had a great conversation. He and I are getting along just well, just very fine. And in that conversation, he said he wanted to hear other ideas, and that really, I think he understands the legislative process, and the Republican Party is not monolithic. There are conservatives, there are moderates, there are big government Republicans, and there's the establishment. And he, more than anybody else, knows that you got to fight the establishment and the status quo. And he understands that there are a lot of people whispering in his ear from Washington that have been here forever that really, I guess, just aren't intent as much on repealing the whole thing. They want to replace it with another program. But I think he's open to listening. He asked for my ideas on this, and I think he truly did want to hear from some members who aren't happy with what's coming forward. And I think you'll notice if you look at his pronouncements, his wasn't take it or leave it. He didn't say what some are saying, that this is the holy grail and this is the end of the debate.
No, he said, let's start a negotiation.
Exactly. And I take him at his word on that, and I told him I was willing to work with him to try to find a repeal in a way. But I did tell him what I've been telling everybody in the press, and that's it. I think the only way we get this through is to separate repeal from replace. I think we agree on repeal. Most Republicans have been campaigning on repeal for 6 years, but the replacement part, some people want to continue Obamacare programs, the taxes, the subsidies, the mandates. They want to continue that. The insurance company bailouts.
Well, I mean, sure, Paul Ryan is on the Soros payroll. He's all behind this. We know that most of this bill was Republican. That's what's so shameful. So, I've seen you break down your legislation that I think would be actually a great way to repeal it and then replace. I mean, let's talk about your legislation, where people find it, how we get your legislation out there front and center.
My replacement bill, we have two different bills. One is the complete repeal from a year ago, and we're going to introduce that this afternoon with Congressman Jim Jordan. And then the second thing we're going to do is a replacement bill. We've already done it about a month ago. It's called Senate Bill 222. And in it, there's something really exciting. And I've met a lot of your listeners. A lot of them are small business owners, independent-minded people, people who work for themselves. And my bill allows them to join an association. What does that mean? I'll give you an example. In Kentucky, 700,000 people have their money in a credit union. They're members of a credit union. We would let all 700,000 of them join a health association, and then they would
Makes perfect sense. Let small businesses pool in free association across state lines even. That brings real free market.
Same for the Farm Bureau. We have 30,000 people in the Farm Bureau, but they buy individual insurance. The problem with individual insurance is your husband or your spouse gets sick, it's devastating.
We need to pool.
Yeah, the insurance companies have all the power, and here's what I've been saying. Right now, if I want to buy insurance, I've got to go kiss the boots of the insurance company. What I want to do is change it. I want so many people in association that when I go to buy insurance, the insurance company executive comes and bows down and says, "Sir, what can I do to provide you with a good product? Because you have the power." So I'm trying to transfer the power from the man, which is the insurance companies, to the people, which is the consumer and the average ordinary American that needs to buy insurance. We can do it through an association. If you're in a large association, you have the power to demand a good price. You have the power to demand they can't drop you when you get sick, but you do it all through the market, by the leverage of the marketplace.
Just like your dad always said, common sense Americana. Well, then the minutes we have left with Senator Rand Paul, what's the best place, your Senate.gov site or randpaul.com?
I think randpaul.com is the easiest one to go to, and they can look at our bill. We've got it online. We haven't been trying to hide ours. Ours has been out for a month. And later on today, we'll have up the complete repeal. So we're going to have two bills, complete repeal and replace, but as separate bills.
Well, I'm firmly behind what you're doing, and I'm glad the president's just saying it's an opening debate in salvo. And the time we have left, I mean, I love when you ran for Senate, obviously backed you, did a great job once you got in. During the campaign, stuff kind of all went wild. But overall, lately, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the show now, you have been saying this on air, you are really like the leading liberty light. And then Trump seems to be responding and listening, and I see in press conferences with him and him taking your lead and everything. So it's very exciting, for me to see you more and more working with the president and seeing him pretty much aligning with you more and more. So I'm glad to see you guys are friends again.
Well, the interesting thing is while we had our disagreements, politics is a rough and tumble sport for adults. We had our disagreements, but the interesting thing is when you look at some of his ideas, you can see some resemblance. So,
he loves your dad. Loves you.
He was opposed to the Iraq War. He thought that nation building was wasting a lot of money overseas, and we ought to spend that money at home. We got to rebuild our own country before we think about, rebuilding other countries. He has thought regime change in the Middle East has led to more war and less stability. So really on some major issues like the Iraq War, nation building, regime change, we've been on the same page. I think on the intelligence communities, the fact that we are sort of spying on foreigners, but then trapping Americans in that spy game, they've trapped the president in this. They have now, and here's something that most people don't know. The NSA spies on the president all the time. Not only this president, they spied on President Obama 1,500 times in 1 year, and what they did is they say they minimize his name. So they know he's talking to a foreign leader. They're spying on the foreign leader. They record the whole phone call. But here's the rub. You're dependent on honest people in the NSA and in the intelligence apparatus to not reveal that conversation. But we've already found out they revealed the Michael Flynn conversation, which is illegal, and they ought to go to jail for.
Well, that's my next question, Senator. Since you're bringing this up, we've got a former Attorney General, a Bush thing. Of course, they taped him. We have the Intelligence Committee head in the House saying, "Oh yeah, we looked at it. there's no traitorous stuff. They did talk to him to line up phone conversations. So they try to say, oh, we're spying. Now they say they never did it. It looks like Obama and them are in big trouble now. And now we have this new Vault 7 total dossier of how they can remote control planes, cars, take over any device, power plants, spying on us via iPhones. Can you speak to that? I mean, I know you're in high-level intelligence committees, but can you speak to that, Senator Rand Paul?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is the mainstream media is misleading everyone. They're saying, oh, President Obama didn't have the power to order a wiretap on Trump. That's probably not the way it worked. Probably the Justice Department ordered it, but their ultimate boss is the president, or was President Obama. But also they probably didn't order the tap on Trump. They probably ordered the tap on a foreigner who might have been making phone calls. So if they tap a foreign ambassador, that ambassador calls, and the ambassadors actually call and talk to both campaigns, and the ambassadors talk to all the senators.
Sure, so they're playing a semantical game.
Exactly. Basically, it sounds like it happened. I don't know if it happened or not, but I think it's going to be explosive if somehow we get to see the documents that actually say that this was done. And the thing is they're saying, oh, if Trump wasn't the target of it, it wasn't done. They can still listen to your phone calls. Anytime you talk to a foreigner, if the foreigner has been targeted by any of our intelligence agencies, they listen to the phone call, but then you must trust them to minimize you and mask you so your name is not revealed to the public.
Well, plus, it's illegal for them to be leaking. I mean, they've been leaking. Now they're denying it. In closing, then, I mean, this seems like this new Vault 7. I was told this was coming out a few weeks ago. A devastating blow against the deep state that, thinks it's bigger than Congress, bigger than the president, bigger than the people. It seems like this is a major strike back against the deep state with what they've been doing to everybody, not just President Trump. What's your take on that, and what are you hearing inside Congress and the halls of the Senate as the next shoe to drop, Senator Rand Paul?
I think the most important thing I'm hearing and that I'm worried about is that private conversations between our officials, our president, NSA, are being monitored and then leaked. And this is not the same as a leak like you say something personal about what the president or their wife is wearing in the White House. That's a leak. But if you reveal classified conversations that are being tapped by the intelligence community, this is a crime that should be punishable by jail, and it lets the deep state have so much power that every American will ultimately live in fear of their phone conversations being listened to. And so this is very, very dangerous, and if there is any kind of investigation, it needs to be of those in the intelligence community who are committing felonies by revealing secretly recorded conversations. Well,
exactly. We always think of a Russian threat or a Chinese threat, and certainly those are threats. But what about our own bureaucrats? I mean, anybody knows with their own business, your biggest threat's a rogue employee. I mean, it's problems inside jobs. I mean, this is crazy that they would go this far and be this arrogant. It seems like the Democrats have gone from being very arrogant just a week ago to running scared. Now, I'm not seeing a lot of this in MSM, but the #1 story on the internet, which is the real media, is Vault 7. So I know you're a busy man for our country, but I hope you can also talk more about that, because it seems like good people in the intelligence agencies, this didn't come from the Russians, obviously, I'm told it comes from the CIA, are leaking about their own agencies because they see these agencies sabotaging a president that's only trying to turn our economy back on. Senator Rand Paul, anytime you want to come on, thank you for coming on the broadcast. We'll be looking for your 2 new bills that you already had a year ago, reintroduced today at randpaul.com. We'll certainly get behind those. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex.
All right. There goes Senator Rand Paul. And
Talk show host is Alex Jones. He's a conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Deeply, I think, racist.
I just got called racist by MSNBC.
I don't want that man to have a gun.
1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.
The Alex Jones Show. Watch the free stream live at Infowars.com/show.